Okay, NBA Round 2. Here we go, starting the Western Conference, the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Utah Jazz. The Lakers, did they look impressive? They looked very impressive, didn't they? The only 4-game sweep out of any team, beating the Denver Nuggets handily, no problem whatsoever. The Utah Jazz look strong as well, taking on the Rockets. But I'm going to have to go with the Lakers in this one. The strongest team out of the West, probably. I'll take it in a 5-game series. Lakers did win today. So once again, I kind of have that advantage of knowing almost all the first games in these series. But I would have taken the Lakers either way. I know the Jazz have that huge home court advantage, possibly the biggest home court advantage out of any other team. But I don't know if that's enough to sway just the overwhelming amount of talent the Lakers have. So in a 5-game series, the Jazz will at least take one at home, 5 to 6 games, but I'm going to say 5. And so that's it with that. So move on to the next one, number 2 versus number 3, Hornets versus Spurs. I love the Hornets. Out of any team in the NBA, I really like this team. This is a team that has flown under the radar all year long, a team that nobody really gives a shot at winning the title. Everybody knows they're a good team, but nobody really thinks they're a great team. The Spurs, obviously, everybody knows they're a great team. The defending champs, but I gotta go with the Hornets. I just love the Hornets, how they play under the radar. I love how they always play in their system. Obviously, they won yesterday, which was a pretty convincing win over the Spurs. I'm gonna say this is gonna go 7. This is gonna be a hell of a series, but I'm gonna pick the Hornets in this one. Home court advantage might come into play. Chris Paul, with the exception of Kobe Bryant, is the MVP of the NBA, and I got the Hornets in 7, so that should be a hell of a series. Move on to the Eastern Conference, the Orlando Magic and the Detroit Pistons. This is going to be a good series. I really think the Magic are trying to prove themselves that they can really compete with the Boston Celtics and the Detroit Pistons on that same level, but obviously last night the Pistons came up with a win. And I'm going to take the Pistons in this one in a 6-game series, I think. 6 to 7. I'm going to go with 6. The Magic are good, but I just don't know if they could keep up with that system. I mean, that the Detroit Pistons run. The Detroit Pistons are obviously a very experienced team. It seems like they're in this position almost every year. So I got to go with the Pistons with their experience. I mean, the Orlando Magic, they're going to have their chances in the future, but I think this year is just more for the Detroit Pistons than really for the Orlando Magic. Now the final series, the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Boston Celtics. Now I'm not going to go all chalk on you. I'm not going to pick all the favorites in this. I'm going to go upset Cavaliers over the Boston Celtics. Reasons why? Well, the Cavaliers probably have the best player in the Eastern Conference, and obviously LeBron James. And since the Boston Celtics just looked like a piece of shit in the first round, surviving today by blowing out the Hawks, which was a convincing win, but which asks the question, why couldn't you do that 4 games in a row? I just think the Celtics, maybe they're tired, maybe they're worn out, maybe since all season long they've just been, I mean, you're talking about the Boston Celtics who about halfway through the season didn't really have to play anymore. I mean, let's say, 3/4 of the way through the season, they already had everything wrapped up, and maybe they're just like, their mode, they just can't switch the, just can't turn the switch on and off, and they're just having problems right now getting back into that winner go home mode. So I'm going to say the Cleveland Cavaliers in this one, and I know a lot of people are going to argue with that, but I don't know how you can argue with that with how bad the Celtics look. Not to mention, I don't want to pick all the favorites. So we'll see what happens. Comment, tell me what you think. Sorry for the abrupt stop in the last video. And subscribe if you already haven't. Thanks to all the new subscribers. And that's it.